Get started. Susan, would you please do the roll call?
Sure. Welcome everyone to the Wednesday, May 6, 2015 Ann Arbor Downtown Development Authority meeting. A roll call. Bob Gunzel.
Here.
Roger Hewitt.
Here.
Marie Clough.
Here.
Jill Lowenstein.
Here.
Al McWilliams.
Here.
John Moat.
Here.
Risha Narayan.
Here.
Keith Orr.
Here.
Steve Powers.
Here.
Sandy Smith. And John Slitt.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. This is our time for audience participation. We can allow up to 4 people and for 4 minutes apiece. And for those who wish to speak, when you have 1 minute left, I'll give you a little 1 minute signal. So the first on our list is Maggie Ladd.
Good afternoon, Maggie Ladd representing the Ann Arbor Art Fair. Over 2 years ago, the board leadership of each fair began to hold joint meetings to discuss the long-term sustainability of the art fair. They asked us to research the issue. We began looking at the industry in general, and more specifically at other fairs like ours in the top 100 nationally. Each director traveled to at least 2 of our competitors' events to gather first-hand information from our industry colleagues and to talk with artists not currently exhibiting in Ann Arbor. We discovered, among other things, that we were the only event in that top 100 group not open on a Sunday. Evidence gathered over the years supported that our audience had an expectation for Saturday night and Sunday hours, and that not meeting those expectations was damaging to the event. Anecdotal evidence definitely pointed that way. The top 3 audience questions at information booths every year are: how do I get to Zingerman's? Why aren't you open on a Sunday? And where is Mr. B? When we began to discuss the Sunday question with our community partners, we discovered a surprising level of support for the idea. So we began to elicit input from our stakeholders, beginning with the churches, a dialogue that continues today. We followed that by surveying artists and downtown businesses. Both constituencies were supportive. At the same time, we were holding meetings with the Convention and Visitors Bureau, the DDA, and the RIDE. The supportive results from those discussions and surveys prompted us to approach the city administrator to confirm city services would be available, which he did. So finally, we, as stewards of the art fair, are asking you to support the shift to Sunday and to support the art fair's request to provide and uphold free parking for the churchgoers affected by this change. We thank the DDA for its past support and hope to continue our mutually beneficial partnership into a successful and prosperous future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, Bob Livingston.
Good afternoon. I see some faces that I know around your tables here today, and I appreciate this opportunity to say just a couple of things. I wrote it down to make my 2 points clear, hopefully, and not to take any more than the 4 minutes. So let me just mention a couple of things. First of all, and I think with very special thanks to the Art Fair Committee and to other leaders that are around this table here, I want to say that over the last year, it's been more than a year, the 6 downtown churches have been gathering and having dialogue with this committee and with others about this idea of moving the art fairs to include Sundays. At first, when this came to us, we weren't excited about the idea. We are often closed down on Sunday mornings because of races that take place. It's difficult for our people to get to our various churches and things like that. So to have another change happen that would, in a very serious way, impact the ability of our members to access our various churches, we were not excited, but we thought it would be important to have the dialogue and to be real good community members of our wonderful Ann Arbor community. And so we started this dialogue process, both with the churches and with the art committee. And I think we have come to a place where we all feel like it's a win-win for everybody, our community, for our churches, for all of us. And I have to say that probably the most particular point and need that we have as churches is to maintain free parking in the downtown area, for our churches. And not only that, to have some particular reservation or access to these parking areas on these Sunday mornings. The idea that the art fairs wouldn't start until at least noon on Sundays was a real important point for us, but also to be able to have reserved parking and access to free parking on those Sundays is going to be very important to our happiness, our accessibility, and our ability to be able to serve the members and friends who come to our various places of worship on those Sunday mornings. So I stand in support of everything that's going on with the change to Sundays. The churches are on board. We're all mutually accepting of it. But I will say that I think for us as churches, accessibility is the biggest issue, and especially this idea of continuing free parking and having reserved parking for our people so that we know that we have access on those Sunday mornings is very key. So I want to encourage that. I want to thank you for your work on behalf of the whole community, and I hope to think that this will be an acceptable part of the plans to move forward with Sundays with our art fair. We know it's important for the vitality of the art fair that they have access to the art fair event on Sundays, and we want to be very supportive of that, understanding why it's necessary, and just want to lift up again the accessibility issue for us and how important that is. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Max Clayton.
Good afternoon, I'm Max Clayton. I'm the Executive Director of the Guild of Artists and Artisans and a member of the leadership of the Ann Arbor Art Fair. I'm here to echo pretty much what Bob Livingston has said to you and to what Maggie Ladd has addressed. Bringing in a little bit more information from my point of view, I'm sort of the one with the marketing background, and it's very important for me to study trends, to look at how trends affect sustainability and our overall mission, which is to preserve and protect and enhance this important event to the city. One of the things that we discovered in our research as we looked into possible changes to the event was the expectation of the Sunday hours and how the demographics have changed, and those who are attending the event are bringing certain new lifestyle elements to us for consideration, which is 50 years ago, more than 50 years ago when the fair started. I wasn't actually here at that event, but I heard about it in detail. The family dynamic was different. As we know, at that point in our history, most women did not work outside the home. And so having events during the week was an easily met expectation. But now we know that that has changed, and the two-family income is more the norm than not. We also understand that family responsibilities have changed partially because of the two-family income and partially because of the way children are raised in a slightly different environment. They have many, many expectations for kids. They have many evening classes, or they have their sports, and I work with people who are constantly taking their children places, which amazes me. And so the family has been looking towards events to become fully available to them on the weekends, that this is the time that is set aside for the family. And it is our job as stewards of the event to look at the event strategically and make sure that people have the event that they are expecting. Not only the time that they are expecting, but the quality they are expecting. We take that responsibility very seriously. We've worked with many partnerships, including the DDA, and we are very grateful to the support and help and fellowship that you've provided. And therefore, again, we are asking for consideration on the parking issue so that we can meet the expectations of our partnership with the churches. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak to the DDA board? Seeing no one, we'll move on to reports from city boards and commissions. Ray Detter, who his seat is empty.
Oh my gosh. Would someone like to speak for him?
Yeah.
I do have a couple of announcements from the city.
Great. Yeah, I think
I can't speak for Ray. Well, first, the proposal deadline for the Library Lane parcel has been extended to June 1st. That to increase the probability of the city the DDA receiving quality proposals. So the deadline for proposals is now June 1st. It had been May 15th. And also, with regret, I'd like to share with the DDA board that Police Chief John Cito will be retiring in July. I know he's been a supporter and a partner with the DDA on downtown issues, even issues beyond crime, and a real strong supporter of the downtown, and wanted to share that news with you that he will be retiring this July. Thank you.
Sorry to hear that. So the DDA member communications, Keith, would you want to offer up anything of honor? Here is our forum with AATA.
I had to miss that.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I do not have
Look at you
that.
as transportation.
I
don't know.
have that.
Does anyone else have anything they want to comment on? I guess I'll just brief for those of you out there. We had a joint meeting with the board from AATA and followed up on an earlier conversation, and it really, I think it's just ongoing conversations about the different activities going on, including 4th Avenue and transit to Ipsy and those sorts of things. So I would just say it's a continuation of that dialogue that will keep going on. We're expecting to have these forums periodically, once every potentially 3 or 4 months, I believe, and we'll see as issues arise, things that we can coordinate with.
In fact, I believe the next date has already been set.
July
July
29.
29. I was going to say 7. Okay.
I'm sorry.
It's in July. I thought it was.
So our next meeting is
Yeah,
the end of July. The end of
Might have
July.
it in here somewhere.
All righty. Next, Executive Director Communications.
So I've got some update for you on some DDA projects. The first I shared last month, but continuation on our Power Up project. That's what we're calling the vinyl wraps around our signal boxes. You're going to start seeing them going up in the next couple weeks. I think at your seats we have the map for you. You have a sense of the 8 boxes that are going to get covered. As exciting for me as we began a dialogue with the area associations and the Arts Alliance yesterday about the next phase. So as details become more clear, I'll bring that back to you. But in the interim, when you see these going up this time, it would be great to get your feedback. What was fun about it was the call for artists engendered a couple hundred responses, and we then got a couple hundred responses from people who voted online for 2 of the locations, which artwork was their favorite. And I think the fun part about it is it tees it up for the next time. We have sort of figured out a lot of the details, as if, the first time doing anything isn't difficult. Well, we figured those details out, and I think the next times we go forward will be a lot of fun. So just putting it on your radar. The next is a follow-up dialogue at Ops. We had, I thought, a really important question asked and debated, which was, how are we getting ahead of parking demand as we see more development taking place downtown? What are we doing to anticipate what may be coming with new residents, new businesses, new construction? And it was resolved that we'd first begin by understanding what that demand is currently and what it may look like. So with your help, we've written an RFQ and it's out the door. It went out on Monday. It's on our website. We've also sent it out to the Michigan Planning Association and more. We hope to get responses back and we'll bring it back to committee with a step toward getting a consultant on board. The goal is to get as much important data collected, not only about parking demand, but also demand for transit and other uses. So we can understand then how to frame the next set of recommendations for how to take our demand management strategies, that menu of options, another step forward. So as that goes forward and we get a consultant on board, there'll be more to report. The next is it's springtime and all around us, activities are underway, and that includes the DDA. This summer we're underway with planting trees. This spring there will be approximately 60 trees planted, which will bring our total trees planted this year to 115. Amber reminded me that then will make it whole the number of trees that were seen as missing in the city's tree inventory a couple of years ago. So the work that will go forward in the next few years will be other kinds of tree-related projects, but we will have filled up all those empty tree locations that were called out by the city. As importantly, when we began this project last fall, we noted the need for ongoing watering of these trees as one of the key pieces that have been missing in the past. And we have a number of partners that I want to thank here at the podium. I want to thank the downtown area associations. Many of them are stepping up and helping us with these trees. The Main Street Biz, some of the adjacent businesses and residents. And for the first time, we'll be working with the city's Give 365 program. They coordinate volunteers who are interested in supporting the city and the parks. And this is the first year they're going to take on the downtown trees as a 365 project. So you'll see these beds mulched, and you'll see weeds taken care of. And with the partnership of all these groups and individuals, I think our trees will have a better shot at thriving. So thank you to all those partners. The next update is we did a few walkarounds at the downtown and have found a number of places where the DDA's sidewalk maintenance program will be active this summer. We're coordinating very closely with the city. The city's targeting a lot of the concrete. In fact, you can see white outlines where they're targeting places where there are gaps in the sidewalk or broken areas. And we're going to focus on, not exclusively, but we're going to focus on the bricks and the pavers, the broken tree grates, and some wayfinding updates. So together with the city, we'll tackle quite a lot over the next period of time. Our work will begin July 1. The city's work is already underway. And then the last thing to do is to put on the radar of the DDA board members. Many of you have attended the annual IDA conference in the fall, which brings to us content, best practice content from around the country and in fact around the world about downtowns and how we manage them. But I want to put on your radar, in June there is a Midwest Forum that will take place in Detroit, and it's going to focus on Midwestern central business districts, and particularly noting their evolution into mixed use. We're all of us seeing residential growth downtown. And what does that mean to a downtown that once was primarily, if not exclusively, commercial? And they're going to bring to us content that I think will be useful around what does that look like, how do we manage it. But they're also going to bring to us things like innovative public-private approaches to managing and activating the civic spaces. So an example is how do we see the parks downtown bringing in the private sector as a way to help manage them, not just city dollars. So I'm just putting it on your radar. I'll get out a notice to you, and those of you that are interested. It'll be in Detroit, which by itself will be interesting, including tours of Detroit and meeting with some of the folks who are working hard at work in Midtown, for instance, and other places where some real innovative things are happening. So thanks, and I'll talk to you later.
Great. Thank you, Susan. That was some interesting information. In your packages on pages 3 through 18, we have the April 2015 meetings. May I have a motion to approve?
And so moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Subcommittee reports, Partnerships, Economic Development Committee. Joan and Al.
Okay, first we have our resolution, and I'd like to move the resolution, which is on page 19.
Support.
Okay, so this is really just kind of a little bit of a housekeeping kind of thing. That in July of 2013, we approved a $59,200 grant to support the effort to create a new South University Business Improvement Zone. And previously we had given money to support the Main Street, what's become the Main Street Area Business Zone. Work is underway, but according to our rules, the unused grant funds will expire on June 30th unless we extend the resolution. So this is really just to extend the resolution so we can expend the funds that we've really already allocated. So that's pretty much it.
Have any questions about it? Seeing none? Excuse me. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you. And then we had some partner updates from Planning Commission. There's a City Council priority of a review of the accessory dwelling unit policy. And if funds for planning assistance is approved in this year's budget, Planning Commission will take this study on as part of its work plan. It was just a little bit of an update. The city council update was more about the budget, and the vote on the budget is anticipated May 18th. Is that correct?
Correct.
And of course, the DDA budget is all part of that. So that was pretty much it, and our next meeting is Wednesday, May 13th at 11.
Very good. Next, Communication Committee. Hal.
So we went over putting together this spring update for the State of the Downtown report, kind of doing a mini one halfway through the year, trying to just attach some numbers and some key points to, we pass all these really broad resolutions and efforts that take years and years and years, and it's nice to kind of see, okay, how are we seeing that hit the street and phrased in a way that is easily digestible. And then so if somebody, the idea is that these things will generate more interest and more questions, right? So people will want to dig in more to what is it's going on and how things are happening. So on pages 20 and 21 of your packet, there's this little spring update snapshot. Things such as, speaking to parking demand, how many spaces are we addressing with our transit support kind of stuff. So bike houses and whatnot, what is our estimate of parking spots freed up per year? There's some numbers on what, how many residential units are coming online and when we expect them, what we expect the economic impact of those residents to be, just little snapshots like that. Hotels coming online, so people can kind of just get a grasp of it pretty quickly. At our next meeting, we're going to kind of be moving into how we can get this out better, so we can make this, and make it available. The idea is we're going to try to be putting it places where more people are going to see it and understand it. So just trying to get as much information out as possible in a way that people will understand. Our next meeting, where we will be figuring that out, is Wednesday, May 13th at 12:30 p.m.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
So do you expect to get feedback from folks?
Yes,
on
feedback
this?
is welcome. It actually says that right on my paper.
Okay.
Feedback is more than welcome. Encouraged. Very welcome, it says.
What paper are you looking at? Where is it?
Right. Operations Committee. John Split, Keith Orr, and Roger Hewitt.
On page 22 of your board packet, there is a resolution that our first three speakers commented on. I would like to move it.
Second.
The resolution that's asking for the DDA to support the move of art fair dates from Wednesday, Saturday to Thursday, Sunday, starting the year 2016. Francis Todoro came before the committee requesting that the DDA make free parking available to church patrons on Sunday, as well as asking that spaces be reserved for church patrons on Sunday. The art fairs have been working on this issue, as you've heard, for quite some time, and they've been working with all of the churches, and this seems to be what the churches would like to see to assure that their congregants have a parking space on Sunday while the art fair shifts. Does anybody have any further questions?
I would like to offer an amendment to this resolution. On the, I believe it's the sixth whereas if this date change were made with the DDA, and I would like to change the name, the word would to may operate its parking facilities, since the DDA has not determined for sure if that whether they will operate or not. I imagine we will, but we'd like to at least keep our options open on that part. And then on the second resolve, the first sentence stays as it is. We would add, I would suggest we add a second sentence. The Operations Committee is authorized to determine the policies concerning this resolution. So all the details that will need to be worked out to make sure that all parties are satisfied in this. And I want to mention that we certainly heard the speakers today and their concern both for free parking and assurance that there would be parking spaces available. And we hear that clearly. And so adding this so that the Operations Committee is charged with making sure that we come up with the policies and procedures that will ensure that all parties are satisfied. So those are the two changes.
So could you read them again, just to
Sure.
make sure we have it correct?
On the, I believe it is the sixth whereas if this date change were made, the DDA, scratch the word would, change it to may operate as parking facilities on the Sunday of Art Fair to accommodate fair participants and visitors. And on the last resolve, after the first sentence, add, the Operations Committee is authorized to determine the policies concerning this resolution.
Thank you.
So I think, as I understand, we need to vote on whether to approve this amendment.
Yeah, so I would move the amendment and
We have a second. Support.
All those in favor?
Can we have some discussion?
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is just the amendment.
Of just the amendment.
The amendment.
Am I allowed to support the amendment if I supported the resolution? Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, because
Yep.
it's the specific.
Robert's rule, I'm just checking.
And I have concerns that my concerns with timing. I have concerns that obviously this is going to go back to the Operations Committee meeting. Are these, is it the feeling of everybody that we can get these issues addressed by our next Operations Committee meeting and have have more definitive policies by next board meeting?
I would think so.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could speak to this. I've had concerns about this resolution. It landed at committee last week, and it, in my mind, has some pretty big ramifications potentially for policy regarding parking. So, you know, I support the idea of having some flexibility in this to help us think through what it means in the long term, in the big picture. We're going to have another item brought before us next about a request for free parking. So I just think it's important that we kind of understand that, and it may be that, I think what I personally feel comfortable about is the assurance to the churches that parking for their people will be free. Now, I'm not sure whether that means we're paying for it or street associations or whoever, but I think one way or another, for the purposes, as I understand it, of what's needed for this short timeline, it seems to me that what is being offered here could accomplish that. And along those lines then, I do feel that we just have to have a much more robust discussion at committee about parking, you know, what our policies are, because we did have robust conversations maybe 5 or 6 years ago that talked about the value of parking, the importance of charging and how it works and all those things, and I just think we need to stay true to that, to look at these things in a context. So that's, you know, that's my 2 cents worth on this particular thing, this particular resolution.
Yeah, and from my standpoint, I was concerned that it didn't go far enough in talking about reserving spots, and that's obviously something that's being looked for, and I'm hoping that we can also come up with a concrete answer to that before our next board meeting.
I think that's part of what we'd have to talk with Republic about, and it's part of the Operations Committee to try to figure out how to accomplish that. I actually hadn't quite caught that significant aspect of the reserved parking. And maybe that's also why it's described as it is in this resolution. That's maybe a logistics issue. Maybe those of you who know more about the parking operations can comment on it. Bob?
What's the timing on this? When do the folks need a decision?
Well,
Can we have some-
they are very anxious to get it today. which?
John, could we ask somebody to come up and explain the timeline a little bit more clearly to us?
Absolutely.
Anyone?
Brave soul. Oh, they're all gonna get up. In tandem.
We're in this together. In looking at this issue and knowing what we need to do in marketing and how we need to alert people who may attend the event that the event will be coming under some change, we need to be able on site at the 2015 art fair to be able forward promote for 2016 and have some fun with it and indicate our excitement, etc. And to get that message out to people. And it will be picked up in the media. We know that will be certainly something that will be of interest when an event that's so well established as this one has a major change. It's going to draw attention. And we want to be able to be in a position to speak to that intelligently and make sure that the message is carried through. To do that, we need to know prior to the 2015 event what our situation is. There are many elements that we will be producing and are actually under production right now. That's just the nature of it. We have a program guide that is multiple pages, it's only 60 pages, and that takes quite a bit of effort to put together and print and deliver. So we have a very early deadline for that. We have a map that has a very early deadline. So we have communication pieces all the way along that need to be developed, approved, finalized, printed, and ready for distribution on site. With that in mind, knowing that most of those deadlines are late May, early June, we were hoping to be able to go to council no later than the first June meeting. So that's where we are in the cycle.
Question. And maybe Bob is a better one to answer this. Having heard the two concerns quite clearly on both free parking and reserved or assured there will be spaces, if we pass this resolution today, which makes quite clear on the free parking for the attendees, is it sufficient that at the operations committee at the end of this month we address the reserved, the assurance that there would be sufficient spaces? Is that going to assure the churches sufficiently that we will, because there are obviously going to be operational issues that we're going to have to look at in some detail on that. But having heard the concern and given our assurance that we will try to address those at our next operations committee, is that going to be sufficient?
I think that's very sufficient. I also think it's very helpful and important.
Okay.
When it comes to this being announced publicly, we all who are the pastors of these various churches know that one of the first things we're going to hear both from our people and our leaders is, so what's going to be the impact on us? Are we going to still have accessibility? And will our people know that they can get a parking place? And that was really a very important thing to those clergy who were gathered around the table, especially, I might add, for St. Mary's Student Parish that has multiple services on Sunday mornings, that they will still be able to provide access for their people, and they're assured of those spaces being available for those services that they provide. So yes, that's very important, whether it happens today or a month from now or 2 months from now. I don't think that's the important thing. The real important thing is that that happens, that we're assured of those spots.
So does anyone else have any discussion before we vote on the amendment? Because just help me with rules. Is this a vote to support the change being made to
Just
the
the
resolution?
amendment.
Just the
amendment.
And then we have to.
Then we can talk about the
And then you
resolution.
vote on
the resolution. Thank you very much. Just want to make sure. So all those in favor of the change of language in the amended resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I'd like to speak
Yes,
to the,
Jane.
just to speak to the resolution as amended. I think our intent, and I hope all of our intent, is to say that we are going to kind of allow the churchgoers to have what they have now. which is the free parking, and we'll work out the logistics later. And I think it's important for us to do it. The art fair is, it's one of the longest collaborations is between the DDA and the art fairs. And there was a time when the individual art fairs were not working together and were not agreeing on things. And I think it is so great to see that they are really operating as a whole now, and that makes it so much better for the city and better for us. And we have to look at this as a kind of a pilot project for the art fairs. It may well be an existential issue about moving to this Sunday as the other day. And so I think we just have to do whatever we can to assist them in that transition. And all of us are going to learn a lot by what happens in that year. And then we can tweak things for however it makes it better going forward. But I think that making it as easy as possible to have that transition is really important.
I wanted to thank the art fairs for putting in the work to have the churches on board before they came here and agreeing and having all that stuff worked out, because those are the first questions I was going to ask is, what do the churches feel about this? What do the downtown businesses feel about this? What do all these other folks feel about this? So I think it makes my job a lot easier to have them come in with all that together. And it seems like on the next page we have a write-up of how this affects our parking revenue, which is great. The information is all there. Recognizing that the churches, the churches are having events on Sunday, every Sunday all year, and bringing a lot of people to our downtown on a Sunday in the morning when downtown is generally slow. I think recognizing their economic impact for our downtown is important, and so recognizing that and the art fairs being well prepared and answering my questions, I'm supporting it.
I guess I'd like to jump in and say that, on the face of it, I'm very supportive of moving this Sunday. The art fairs makes a lot of sense. Personally, I like that idea. The challenge in this case has been that it brings up some thorny policy issues for us to deal with internally of how we handle parking. And also, as Roger mentioned earlier, the logistics of how to make it happen need to be worked out. So I just want to make sure people understand I'm very supportive of the change in the art fair and the work that's been put in by the fairs and the churches and the associations to make that happen. It's just we have some business to take care of on our end. Keith?
And I may be a little bit of a contrarian, but for completely different reasons, because I do also support the art fair changes and support the idea of finding some types of accommodations. For all of the work that's been done beforehand, it sort of came to us at the last operations committee, and which, as you noted, was a fairly sparsely attended one. So I don't think we've had a robust discussion yet, and so I have supported the amendment because I assume this is going to pass, and the amendment allows for some greater flexibility to talk about some of those things, but specifically, being one of the Carytown person that's here, since Sandy is not. Art fair is a completely different animal on the other side of Huron Street, and I don't think we've had any discussions about how this will affect parking and businesses in that area. And again, there could be accommodations. We just haven't had a chance to talk about them. There was, our resolution actually just talks about free parking. It really doesn't even address the idea of reserved parking. And I think those are two different animals as well. The high cost of free parking, as they say, a lot of times when we talk parking policy, the importance we keep talking about is the availability of parking, not whether or not there's free parking. So that's again something, and I do understand that this is accommodating a group that always does have free if not reserved parking on Sunday. They don't need reserved because in general, there aren't that many people downtown on Sunday. So, you know, I understand there are accommodations we can make. I just don't think we've had a chance to have that discussion. So I'm going to be the contrarian to vote no, but in support of the concepts, I just think we need to discuss it more.
Just so I'm clear, the amendment allows for that, the working out the details of how.
It authorizes the operations
Yeah.
committee to work out those details.
I mean, Keith's point, I think, is a good one, though, is that there's a fine line sometimes between logistics and policy, you know, and so I think that's part of what will be discussed hand in hand, is not only the logistics of how to make this happen, but also maybe broader implications related to parking. And I should say, it's something that has been brought up by a couple of board members, that we actually do need to spend a little bit more time and attention on parking operations issues. So, you know, it's a timely matter. Anyone else have any?
I'm just going to throw out there that I'm a strong advocate of moving the art fairs. I think it's important to not only all the artists who come to town, but also the vast majority of the small businesses downtown. It's a very important event for them, and I'm going to be in favor of doing all we can to accommodate the churches and accommodate this move.
Any other comments? Or are you being very quiet?
Still learning.
I was just daring you. Are folks ready to vote on this? Of the amended version of the resolution, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Resolution passes.
We also had another request for free parking. Carrie DeWitt from Farmers Market came to the committee with the request that we begin not charging for parking in the Ann Ashley parking structure on Saturdays up to a certain point in the day. I think that we were talking about 3 o'clock, as I recall. Currently, we have a $3 per drive-in cost to park in Ann Ashley on Saturdays. The committee listened to the request, had some further questions, again, operational questions, revenue questions. So we've asked staff to provide us with some more information, and we will discuss that request further at our next meeting in May. And the final thing I have is the 4th and William elevator stairway replacement. The project is well underway. Most of what's happening now is just on the ground, concrete, electrical, plumbing under the ground. They will actually begin to some demolition tomorrow by taking the brick facade off the existing stair elevator tower. That's the first step, and that's really the only demolition, and the canopy. That's the only demolition that needs to take place before they build a new stairway. And then from there, the existing tower will be taken down cinder block by cinder block from the inside. So again, part of the reason this project is going to be lengthy is just the way that we're taking it on to make sure that there's stair and elevators available throughout. They're also pouring new entrance to the alley because the alley has to be diverted, and they are pouring new sidewalks for pedestrian access on the back side of the stair elevator tower. So again, it's going to be a very tight, very active, but very safe construction zone over the next year and a half.
One quick comment about the farmers market parking is to make sure everyone gets a chance to read the memo that's in the package, and if you have any particular questions or concerns for staff to research on it, make sure you get that in. You know, we want to have a good thorough conversation about this. It's either you or me, I think, for.
Do we have a next committee meeting? Does anybody else, I'm sorry, does
No.
anybody else have anything? Does
Yeah,
Duke have something?
couple more. And I'll take it just because there's a great segue, because it's all about construction. So to go from the giant construction project to a little construction project, just a quick update on the bike house. Masonry work does begin this Friday, so we'll be underway on that. And all of, I believe bids are in, all in, and it looks like we'll be doing it. It's all gonna fall in under budget, so, or within budget, I guess I should say.
Very good. I've got a quick update on the downtown street design manual. It is now designed to actually be done in two final products. One is a technical document, which will be rolled out to developers, designers, folks who would have interest in the more technical side of what's in there. The second piece is a compendium of best practices, which I think have some fairly important policy ramifications, and it's some mundane stuff like alleys and loading zones and so forth, but other interesting things like platform dining and so forth that I think that we will need to find time at committee to have some conversation about. It'll help kind of lead us down the road of what things to pursue and what things not to pursue. I think that's all we have for operations. Next committee meeting, Wednesday, May 27th at 11 a.m. Finance Committee.
Glad all of the audience didn't clear out for my meeting. Thank you. Hey, move finance to the beginning. I keep saying that.
He loves an audience, obviously.
Well, unfortunately, Finance Committee meeting, this meeting was not the riveting meeting it usually is. We didn't have awesome huge budget discussions for approvals or anything like that. We just went through our quarterly financial statements, looked at those, and how we were doing. If you want to flip to page 30, we got it, 31, thank you. You can see how, we have one more quarter to go. You can see how things are stacking up. There was nothing out of the ordinary, nothing of concern, no major issues. Like I said, it was really quite boring. And we are, what we're really kind of gearing up for the next year as all this shakes out is all the construction we have in the upcoming fiscal year. We are paying for that out of pocket. We did bond on that. So, it's really next year that finance meetings are going to be super exciting because we're going to be really going through things with fine-tooth comb, making sure everything looks good. So a lot of our discussions, frankly, have been about this year and making sure it's on point and not a problem for going into next year. And thus far, it's great. Actually, we have revenue increase a little bit, which we were planning on because of the rate increase, and costs have kind of worked out as we expected. And I'm going to just call attention, if I can, to our funds committed report, which is page 38. This is the one that we are going to make sure is in every board packet every month. So when we have discussions about free parking or grants or whatever, we're always going to be referring to this. So this is that report that we've been working on month after month. We've brought it up a few months in a row, gotten feedback on it, taken it back, and this is kind of where we're at with the final presentation of this report. That just reminds us what we've committed ourselves to and what our actual discretionary amount is. And this is 2015. When we get into 2016, we're going to see a picture which is a lot more narrow of what we actually have from a grant perspective. and a discretionary perspective. So there's not anything that's new or anything that we need to be concerned about at this juncture with this. We've kind of vetted this quite a bit, but just to continue to familiarize yourself with this report will be important. Other than that, if anyone else at the meeting had anything that they thought was of importance to talk about, or if there are any questions for Roger.
Hi. I was at the meeting, I don't have to.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Joe's out there in the audience.
Yeah, Joe's out there. Any questions for Joe, as I like to say?
Rishi, I don't have a question, but I have a comment.
Go for it.
Boring is good.
Boring
when
is
it comes to the
very good.
when it comes to the
Boring
finance,
is very good. Yes,
boring is good.
That's true.
We can live with boring.
True statement. True statement. All right. We had a quick deliberation on a committee. We have a new member of the finance committee, by the way, everybody. Marie has decided to just brave all the bad stuff she's been hearing and join the finance committee, and thus we are rescheduling our meeting again for like the 18th millionth time. But it's worth it, totally worth it. And our next committee meetings are now going to be Tuesdays at 1, pending approval from Tom Crawford. But Tuesday at 1 is going to be, so it'll be Tuesday, May 26th at 1 p.m.
Is that the fourth Tuesday then?
Yes, there was a lot of deliberation on how that, mathematically speaking, what that is, and it's the fourth Tuesday of every month, not the last Tuesday of every month. So just so everybody is on the same page here, in case you're putting that in your calendar. Google Calendar really helps with that because when you set it up, you can set it up for the fourth Tuesday of every month. So that's all you do. Yeah. Anyway, that's it for me. I'm out.
All right. Next item, executive committee. The only item that I have is that at your places you'll see a copy of the revised FOIA policy that meets most recent state requirements. This is a draft that is going to be reviewed by our attorney Jerry Lax and hopefully our legal eagles on the board. And I would anticipate this probably coming back to resolution.
I'm surrounded by them.
Resolution likely next month? The June meeting.
June meeting, we're going to adopt something.
Yep, we will.
Right, because it's supposed to be adopted by July 1st, right?
Exactly.
Got it.
Next item is new business. Resolution thanking Cindy Clark.
So moved.
Second. You should probably take the opportunity to quick read it.
Page 30.
There it is. Thank you. So, resolution thanking Cindy Clark. Whereas Cindy Clark has contributed time, energy, and passion to the Downtown Development Authority since 2013. Whereas Cindy Clark contributed important insights into DDA discussions, including an experienced awareness of the unique needs and challenges of small businesses in the downtown. Whereas, through her efforts and involvement, Cindy Clark helped to increase the positive visibility of the DDA in the downtown business community and in the community at large. And whereas Cindy Clark's warm presence and keen intelligence has been appreciated by all who have had the pleasure of working with her at the DDA. Resolved, the Ann Arbor Downtown Development Authority extends its great thanks and best wishes to Cindy Clark for her contributions to the downtown and indeed to the community as a whole through her work on the Ann Arbor Downtown Development Authority. Any
Discussion?
Yeah.
I will not be
miss you, Cindy.
I will not be a contrarian on this.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. All right. Do we have any other audience participation today? Anyone else wish to speak to the board? Seeing none, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Move we adjourn.
Second.
All those in support?
Aye. Under an hour, good job.